I have read countless different webtoons, to Tower of God, Your Throne, Villain to Kill, to Purple Hyacinth, and the list just goes on and on. I have made so many videos on different webtoons that I have discovered over the past year plus, and I have been reading Omniscient Reader. I have made at least 2 videos so far on the series, and today I'm making, as you can see, a 3rd video. And I think this might be my favorite webtoon currently. And let's get right into that, okay? So, Omniscient Reader, if you have no idea what this is about, like, this is the first time you have ever seen me talk about this series, or maybe you just have no idea what it is, and you're just interested in it because maybe the title interests you, maybe the thumbnail interests you, who knows? The point is let's kind of explain the general premise of it before I get into talking about what I have read. Like, I'm caught up. I am caught up with chapter 114 that came out recently, so I am fully up to date with Omniscient Reader, so I will be talking about the latest stuff that happened within the story. But let's talk about the premise. Okay, so the premise overall with Omniscient Reader is about this dude, our main character Kim, that is someone that is very active in terms of reading this story. He really loves this story that he's read on his phone for a very long time, for years basically. And as the chapters kept coming out, the overall viewership of said series kept dwindling down to basically nothing, to where only our main character was the one reading said story. Basically, we fast forward a little bit within the first chapter, you find out that, Kim is someone that was gifted this special email and power because thanks to him actually finishing the story, the whole world that he's currently in is now turning into that very novel he read that no one actually read whatsoever, but he's the only one. And so he kind of knows the events and what's going to take place within the world thanks to how the novel is basically reality now. And so he has to be able to navigate through these situations and try to survive in circumstances to where he can die in any turn if he makes the wrong decision. And you also have people that appear within this reality like demons, monsters, angels, mythological creatures, and even like regular story characters that was just from the novel in general that just appear. And there is a lot to Omniscient Reader. It's great because basically one of the big things you find out really early on is that our MC technically isn't the MC of the novel, because if you remember, he reads the novel, or he read the novel before it ended, and basically, the whole reality of the world turned into the novel. There's a main character in the novel, and obviously, thanks to that, the main character is within the world, and our MC tries to talk with him, befriend him, etc., and it's very fascinating kind of seeing that different type of storytelling, and him trying to befriend an MC that is someone that is kind of very aggressive, or very antisocial, someone that doesn't really want to work with a lot of people. It's very, very cool, and I love that. I really love just the overall presentation of Omniscient Reader right at the start of the story. Now, obviously, there is a lot of mythological elements to it, like Greek mythology, we got Norse mythology, and there's just countless other mythologies you can kind of throw in there, like Korean mythology, Japanese mythology. So if you like mythology, you're definitely going to fall in love with it, because one of the big twists to the early parts of Omniscient Reader is the fact that, basically, our character is able to select a contract, like a constellation, aka a god, to sponsor him in this world. And everybody can kind of get their own sponsor. And if they choose the right constellation, they can get benefits, powers. So, example here, this is just a hypothetical. I'm not saying this happens, so don't worry, it's no spoilers. But hypothetically, let's say like our main character decided to join side with Zeus, okay? Like he allowed Zeus from, mythology to be his constellation. He would then be able to have some form of powers from Zeus itself. So he might be able to just strike down lightning, etc. And that's what he could be capable of. So that's what a constellation can kind of do. They can kind of give you support by coins, etc. to be able to level up, but also be able to have certain powers that are very unique to yourself. So the series has a lot going for it. There's a lot of different variety, a lot of different characters, and there's a lot of clashing mythologies, and the world setting is absolutely huge. It's vast. And I think if you love world building and you love interesting worlds and characters, you're going to fall in love with Omniscient Reader just right out the start. But okay, with that overall premise out of the way, I want to talk about what I read. Basically, the current stuff, since I've already made a video, technically 2 videos on this series, I want to talk about the latest arc that just kind of got concluded, and the arc that we're getting into right now. So, I really am loving the Hades Persephone stuff going on with Kim. I love that. I am absolutely a huge fan because I love mythology. I think everybody knows this. I've said this countless times over the years, ever since I basically became a content creator on YouTube. I love mythology. It's very fascinating seeing certain stories of mythology weaved into storytelling, and I love getting to see, like, Persephone and how she's, I guess, perceived in the world of Omniscient Reader, and how our MC has to kind of communicate with a god itself, a deity, to also trying to get back a soul from Hades, to also the stuff that happened right before that with the Beast Tamer and the whole arc with, someone that was kind of forced to be evil and tried to befriend them, but obviously they died in the end thanks to a Dokubi's, meddling. There is just so much that's happened. So, yeah, in terms of the latest arc, there's a lot of potential there. That's the first thing I do want to say. I think that the big detail you can kind of get, though, at least from the latest stuff before I get into the previous arc, is that it's building up for, obviously, to revive this individual that died in the previous arc, and I think that it's going to be powerful when it happens, because if he's able to get one of the catastrophes back to life, or, like, bring her back, and she has the same level of power, that's going to be a very huge boon for his victory in the future of the story, because we already saw how strong the individual was, and they were kind of powered down or a little bit weakened. Imagine if they have the full strength and capabilities to kind of fight back in the future if they do help out our main characters. So, that's exciting. I honestly am looking forward to when that happens and how it's actually done. And also, let's get into that. So how all those circumstances led to the event of, like, her death, the one that was the, the catastrophe, the fifth catastrophe, and how, the character overall, its impressions to me. So the character's impressions, at least the fifth catastrophe, design-wise, fantastic. Absolutely love the design, the bestial look, to just the overall nature of the character. It really is a very intimidating design. I love the character so much, and I think that the overall vibe and tone it went was definitely a very different route that I did not expect from a catastrophe, because everything up to the point of, like, Omniscient Reader to the fifth catastrophe that we saw, it's been about, like, a dragon, that's appeared, or fight for the throne and all that, and, the world without a throne, to just, like, different things with, like, creatures or guides coming in and having to defeat them, different monsters, etc. And overall, the fifth catastrophe is kind of like a reskin of that, but it takes a very different route, because for the very first time, we get to see a catastrophe that is being able to be talked to, and someone that can actually be reasoned with, and someone that can actually join the main character's side. And that's kind of where we get a little bit more lore and world building within the story, is that if the constellations want something to happen within the star stream, for instance, let's say a catastrophe to have a good ending, or join their side, or not be killed, whatever, it could potentially happen if the constellations agree. And you get to see a lot of that going on throughout the arc, especially towards the end, with the mid-level, Dokubi getting completely punished by Kim because of, how it tried to play these games, and try to manipulate things, and I really appreciate that little segment. It was very, very satisfying to actually see that Dokubi get the crap beat out of him, because it's like he deserved it after everything, especially getting to see that moment, that emotional moment of the character just straight up dying, and then, Kim's like, look, I'll save you, I'll bring you back and all that, I'll find a way. Now he has to travel through different forms of afterlife just to be able to save her. So there's a lot going on there, and I love that element of the arc. It's so good, and I'm loving the character development, and how, Kim as a character is kind of changing the world in a very distinct way, to where at this point in time within the story, he doesn't really know fully where the story is going to go. He doesn't know exactly what's ahead of him, because the story's been just so radically shifted, the overall events is kind of foreign now. Yes, he may know the layouts of different catastrophes and different events later on, but overall he doesn't know what characters might be involved now, thanks to all the story changes that he's actually caused. And there's a lot of mystery going on, and a lot of build-up, making you wonder if he's actually finally going to get a constellation to kind of, he's going to serve under, or if he might actually ascend to a constellation, because it's kind of being hinted at within the latest arc, with him helping out the girl and helping her get a lot powerful and become a beast tamer. There's a lot of things going on there, and I do wonder, honestly, just how all that will be handled as the story progresses. I have heard that there is a light novel, and I definitely want to read that said light novel. I definitely need to find the light novel and get a hold of it, because this is such a good story, and I have been enjoying it from start to finish, and I 100% cannot recommend this webtoon enough. If you're actually interested in reading it, I do have a link in the description. Do click on it. It does help me out as well. And yeah, thank you so much, everybody, for listening to this long video and me just talking about this series that I've been really enjoying. But with that, be safe, everybody. Stay healthy. Chibi out.